Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is the Yewllusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. Doing a little Saturday Night Live here. I got a story to get us warmed up and then read some of my novel I wrote in 1994. Been meaning to do that for a while. So don't hesitate to put some tip money in the cup, dude. We appreciate all the support we can get around here. So anyway, I was driving over the canyon this evening, or over the hill, and I was behind a drunk driver, obviously someone who was pickled. And I was like, whoa, man, like there's still drunk drivers out there. Well, what a trip. And then I thought about this story I've never told before on YouTube. And it's about a drunk driver and my experience with a gnarly head-on collision and a tale of caution. So we go back to the year 1990. It's spring 1990. And I know it's spring because it's spring break. My girlfriend and I at the time, OJ, we are heading from Aptos, which is just south of Santa Cruz, back down to Malibu via Big Sur. So I had left the day earlier and I'd met up in Big Sur and then she met me the next day down at Big Sur. Back then I had a red pickup truck, and she had a Toyota Land Cruiser, all tricked out Toyota Land Cruiser, like an old Toyota Land Cruiser, like the Jeep kind. And so we met up, but she had been in a gnarly accident like a couple years before, coming back from a Jane's Addiction show. She was like early Jane's Addiction when they were still small. So she was coming back from a Jane's Addiction show, and she had been driving with her friend on the 101, and they had been cruising down the 101 and rammed into a car that had been abandoned on the 101 freeway with no lights on. And they plowed into the car, and she had gotten ejected through the window and bounced down the highway. And so, she had a pretty radical story, but she was like a model. She was super hot, but her face had been like reconstructed and stuff. But she was still beautiful. She had like one scar on her face. And anyway, so we were living up. We were going to Cabrillo College up in Santa Cruz. We were living in Aptos, and it was spring break, and we came down for spring break, and we were coming down. So we met, and but she had broken her back in this accident, right? She had broken her back in this accident. She could walk and everything. So she had this Toyota Land Cruiser she had, but it used to make her back hurt. So when we met up in Big Sur, she was like, will you drive the Land Cruiser the rest of the way down to Malibu? And I'm like, okay. So she was driving my pickup truck, and we had our dog. We had a dog together, little Roddy pit bull mix, brindle pit bull, like named Hooch. And so we were driving, and it's dark now, and we're coming out of Big Sur, and we're in a little town called Harmony, California. And if you can look on it, it's just a little teeny, like nothing town. I think the population's like 10 or something. It's south of Cambria, just north of Morro Bay. And so we're driving, and it's late at night. It's probably 11-ish. And we're cruising. And if you're going south out of Harmony, California, you kind of come up a hill, and then you go on a long straightaway down and through some turns. Well, we're cruising. She's following me in my pickup truck, and I'm in the Land Cruiser. And we're tooling along. I got the dog with me. I'm cruising down the road, And at the last second, I just see something and I flinch and I swerve, right? Well, what it was there was a line of cars coming up towards us in the other lane. It's a 2-lane road. There's a line of cars coming up, and what was going on was a drunk driver was passing this other line of cars with no lights on. And the car passing with no lights on, like, I swerved and it head on my girlfriend who was following right behind me. Boom, dude, it's all of a sudden it's pitch black. It's pitch black. There's just brakes, the whole thing. I jump out. It's pitch black. My car with my gal in it's all just totaled. She's okay, kinda. I run to the other car, and the chick is hammered. In her total car, like, what happened? What happened? And I'm like, I'm getting ready to sock her, and this dude comes running out of nowhere from one of the other cars. It's like, leave her alone. Go take care of the other car. He saw I was loose. I'm like, you're drunk. You crazy bitch. You're drunk. And he's like, go take care of the other car, which was my girlfriend. So I go back, and I'm sitting with my girlfriend in the car. And I got her head on my lap. I'm not moving her, right? Like, I know, like, and I know she'd already broken her back once. And she's like, I think I broke my back again. It's like a whole thing. I'm sitting with her. There's no lights. There's nobody. We're out in the middle of nowhere, Highway 1. I'm sitting there, and I'm holding her, and I'm talking to her. All of a sudden, I hear screeching, just, and I look up, and there's a full giant Chevy Suburban was flying up the road, and now has come up on the accident. There's no lights or anything, dude, and sees the thing and does this. All I see is headlights coming at me. I'm holding my girl, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. And it fishtails through the accident site. And I'm sitting in the car, broken up car, in the passenger seat with my girl in my head. I see the thing fish out. I see the headlights come. I see it fish again, the headlights, and then I see the tail just coming right back for the thing, and then it fishes out and goes to the thing, and then next thing you know, there's a bunch of people there and lights and stopped, and the I don't know, things started moving pretty quick, and then there was a bunch of highway patrols there and ambulances and the whole thing. So what had happened was my girlfriend had, like, fractured her back again. She was in the hospital for like 2 days. Move forward. And kind of the end of the story is I went to court like a month. Like 6 months later, I got called into court to testify. The gal was fighting it. And that's all I really remember. That's all that really came of it. And it was just one of those things, man, of it was so gnarly because it was this person with no lights on. Like, I don't know if you can really imagine what it was like in that sense of, like, we were just tooling down the 101 at night after having a great day. And all of a sudden it's a flinch and just noise, silence, dark. It was like this. It truly was like a thing from a dream. I don't know. I was thinking about that today following this drunk driver. And I was like, it's so weird there's still drunk drivers out there. Like, I don't quite understand how there's still drunk drivers in 2019 with all the lifts and the this and the that. But anyway, yeah, I've had a gnarly experience or life-altering experience with a drunk driver with no lights on. Anyway, that was just my little warm up. And now I'm going to read some of my novel. If you want to, look, the way this all works, I know I've been quiet for a little while, is some people take care of this channel. Thank you, Twitty. But the rest of you, it's a pay, kind of, you're chipping in based upon your enjoyment of said content. And if you don't enjoy it, well, you wouldn't be here anyhow. So whatever. So I'm going to start reading my novel I published with my buddy in 1994 called Wow, which has its own trippy story. And we're just going to, so it's published in 1994. And I think I will just start with the dedication page. So this is, for all of you out there who like to get stoned, this is time for you. I am sharing with you what I would call bong literature. And I just want to know that when we were writing this book with my buddy, one of our stated objective was to mention marijuana on every single page. It's that kind of a book. So it's a far out sci-fi adventure involving copious amounts of THC. So now I'm gonna stop this. Oh, before we get going on that, this is what's going on. This is California. That, if you look at that, I don't know if it's focused that well. That is industrial chronic up in the field, Oxnard. That stretches basically all the way to the ocean. It's nothing but chronic weed growing right on the side of Hueneme Road, just like tomatoes or anything else. I was blown away. I was driving by it and I was like, what is that they're growing? And I pulled over. Literally, there's no fence around it, nothing. That is cola bud chronic weed growing agricultural style in Oxnard, California. So all you pot smokers that don't think you're getting sucked into some sort of corporate conspiracy, more proof, dude. More proof. Yeah. How do you like that, Twitty? That's going on in Oxnard, California right now, today. Anyway, let's get to this. Wow, by Hamish and Owl Patterson. This book is dedicated to marijuana smokers around the world. Hemp, Bob Marley, Danny Bonaducci, television, imported beer, and the boys at Fresco Market, Taco Bell, Pepsi, all of our friends in Flagstaff, and our enemies everywhere. Bukowski, the Flagstaff police, Nazis, Rasta, New School anything, gangsters, pimps, hippies, surfers, skaters, snow users, readers of this book, fast food, television again, candy, dropouts and losers, people with tattoos, McConnell Hall, Greg Kinnear, Navajolandaho, Shemp, Gandhi, LaRig, the WWF, Dead Kennedys, Hunter S. Thompson, Malibu, Sports Heroes, Elvis, All Hot Chicks, Pools Without Water, hand-rolled joints, quesadillas, and all Mexican food, margaritas, Samuel Smith's oatmeal stout, Snowball, the lady that corrected this, speeding, binging, smiling, dirty jokes, babies, black labs, streams, Led Zeppelin, Guy on MTV, monkeys, all conversations about monkeys, rainforest, Terminator 2, Tanqueray and Tonic, Zigzag Papers, Snowball Fights, Flagstaff Sunsets, Humphreys Peak, Relentless Phone Messages, Shock Tarts, Hot Wheels, Trains, Yellow Lights, Doc Severinsen, Quartz Watches, 500-watt sodium halide bulbs, earthquakes, firemen and paramedics, Levi's, glass tubes, shoes, big wheels, elephants, topless dancers, the guy who lives in our office, red Cherokees, golfing, Benga and his son, surf, sun, snow, water, shortages in Phoenix, bad smells, houseplants, parades, Hicks, birds, Wayne's World, Star Wars trilogy, fucking up Stephanie's place tonight, big bags, fresh powders, bikini waxes, ban on bad beer, free pot, kind kegs, people who make trips for the crypto, and last of all, our parents who can take a good joke. All right, and then this disclaimer, this story is fiction. Any similarities to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. No part of this book is to be copied or reproduced without written consent of Refried Media Productions. And here we go, chapter 1. Chapter 1, into the kaleidoscope. Marijuana. Constantly smoking ounces of the super crypto while endlessly pounding liters of Baron Jaeger is Johnny's life lately. He is frying nuts, sitting on a black and white checkered beanbag, meditating Indian style. A small sun burns cherry red, filling Johnny's glass bong with dense milkshake smoke. Staring aimlessly out toward the sea, he notices a school of dolphins playing tag. Suffocating on the toke, laughing, clutching the glass-filled 3-footer, he shows defiant lung capacity. The exhaled smoke curls in a fantastic mix of purples, oranges, and greens. Rainbows frolic with furry monkeys and big Cadillacs. Glass pipes burst bubbles. Johnny's hair jumps and sways in and out of the melting tangerine honey as the wind whistles between his ears. Oscillating figures swirl about, casting mysterious shadows, floating into space. Colorful prisms catch the corner of his eye. Funky disco beams and crazy chimes groove in harmony to the kaleidoscope. The polished brown wood surrounding him, reflecting colors and giving the room a warm and cozy feeling. Birds tweety-tweet, drifting in the tropical ocean breeze. Bumblebees hover around the windows that protrude from the shiny walls at an obtuse angle. Red and green scrambled eggs, swirling acid particles, flickering gold, turn to ghost on a misty past. The light dances crazy with the wind. The clutter of bric-a-brac explodes with noise, beeping clocks, clinkling garbage, rolling pens, tapping pipes, spinning crystals, loose skates, and clattering dirty dishes. Bells and gongs in his brain chant in unison with the ticks and tocks. They're trying to communicate with Johnny. The flotsam of a stone generation are conversing with him. Wasted, he keeps beat with the swaying ship. The psychedelic dream grows more intense. The insistent clinking of single glass pipes caught in the crack of a wooden table breaks into a solo chant, muting out all other sounds. Though huge, the table is dwarfed by the immensity of the cherry and oak-lined room. It is covered with druggy paraphernalia, zigzags, more glass pipes, and chillums, pens, resin-covered pokers, paper, kind beer bottles, a blue and red lava lamp, magazines, and a new age meditation ball. Johnny's mind, now blank and stoned in happy thoughts, realizes that the pipe isn't the answer. Tripping rainbows perform backflips off his forehead. Johnny's crystalled eyes tell a long story of drug exploration. Twitching and bobbing, his pot head is delirious and bewildered. His good hand blindly searches the floor, rifling through the clutter. Finally, his shaking fingers stop at a small metal box, glowing in maroons and yellows. Helpless, hostage to the colors, he brings the box, which contains a Kush nugget of fluorescent green, to his nose. Deliriously pinching the frosty bud, he packs a bowl. The frosty is the freshest, greenest, most crystallized death herb, and it will send a message of relief through Johnny's overworked skull. He anchors his feet for a deep breath, and unconscious from his previous hit, gives it like a vacuum-like suck. The bong is bubbling again, its spicy hit expanding jaw, causing Johnny to hack, blowing out chunks of his overused lung. The smoke makes a dragon cloud white with flashing fangs. Coughing spastically, he rolls his red eyes back before squinting. From the moment the scent of the Buddha changes the air, His whole dimension slows to a euphoric junction with peace, like a halogen headlamp, and moment of ecstasy and beauty fill his purple haze. This brings life to the beat and the focus, the deranged mind for one last. This brings life to the beat and focuses the deranged mind for one last attempt. Johnny grips time like a metronome, smoking the bubonic chronic super endochronic. The blue-eyed surfer slides into a moment of harmony with the encompassing psychedelia. The high is getting stronger. Wham! Bam! It begins in a sudden rush. All of it is coming back. The confused memories, the carnage, the drugs, the adventure gone wrong. He is suddenly full of regret and fear, knowing the reality of the situation. Pulling himself from the trance and the comfort of his half-filled beanbag, Johnny is a skeleton. A panic look crosses his ravaged mug. Wincing, he pukes up a creamy yellow bile at the side of a festering pile of dog dew next to a ruffled chicken carcass. Thoughts of fetch fill his head. What had taken place was becoming clear. Spaghetti chunks of meat and blood coating the walls, reminiscent of H. Earth and Sid, who had starved to death, lay intertwined, zipped inside of a flowering sleeping bag. Rigor mortis bloated their bodies, making them look like a grotesque pretzel. Bodies of Johnny's other crusading friends lay rotten, strewn across the cabin. It is the grim scene, not the bong hits, that caused Johnny to collapse. Wallowing on the floor, twitching in spasms, pounding his fists into the wood and splintering his knuckle, he moans, "Ginger, Ginger, I, come back, Ginger." That's the end of chapter 1. Yeah, Stosh, you better get tuned up for this. All right, we'll do chapter 2 to get this rolling, and then we'll call it good. Chapter 2 is kind of long. Okay, here we go. Chapter 2, first trip on the hill. I need to get some water for this. All right, here we go. Chapter 2. My life as Johnny Trala Lane seems. I need some my glasses. Where are my glasses? It's like an intermission. Remember, this is a crowd-funded reality. Don't hesitate to drop some change in the old tip jar for a live reading of Wow, 25 years in the making. My life as Johnny Trala Lane seems so normal the day it began. So simple. Just drop the paper on your tongue and fly. That was the lifestyle I lived. 1 foot from the grave. Like any other day, Pinto came to pick me up in his tricked out Z28 Camaro, roaring down the street with red flames flaring from the sides. Pinto was one of those Mexican cats that loved to show off with his flashy ride, the ear-bleeding volume that he played his tunes at, and his disguising wraparound Ray-Ban shades. He was always dressing like a combination between a new school skate route and a South Central vato. Pinto yelled to me over the shaking speakers to hop into the car just before he readjusted the rearview mirror. Off we went to Thomas's, music cranking to the top and the pedal down to the metal. Thomas was our other bro. He was usually with us. He had promised to be elsewhere. He was usually with us when he promised to be elsewhere. He was a hard-knock, rich white kid from the hills of San Francisco. Thomas was the kind of guy who had a psychedelic pro bono manner that fooled just about everybody except us, of course. As usual, we picked him up at some random's house. When we pulled up, he looked fresh for the day, smiling stoned as he hopped into the back. Pinto laid rubber. It was the bros youth, innocent, loud music, and la la la. Also stereotypical, like some cheesy sitcom or decade documentary. We were headed to Monica's. Monica was beautiful and young. She and I went way back. Monica was a girl I used to hang out with on the beach when we were kids. I loved going to the beach with her. We would always get baked and have stony conversations on the sand while we lay out to tan. She always ended up darker naturally. She was of a Mediterranean descent. She had gorgeous skin with beady and piercing blue eyes that perfectly complemented her pearly white smile. She was unexpectedly crazy too, especially when it came to taking drugs. Monica loved to get wacky and out of control. We were her guests on this trip. Her house was out of the city in the rugged redwood forest south of San Francisco, along the coast. The house was a huge A-frame with decks surrounding it. The forest encircling it was dark and damp, except for a cut in the tree line that allowed the sun to shine through. The place was freedom when we wanted out of the city. We were all tree lovers, finding solitude among the redwoods. We also found great pleasure in Monica's stash of drugs, especially the marijuana which she grew herself in the forest. The pot that morning at her house could not calm our excitement, for she had asked us to come and try some of her secret local acid. Our friends made the LSD in a lab at USF, where he was a graduate student doing chemistry research on hydrogen vaporization. He was known to make the best acid around. You could always recognize it by the symbol of the Bic man on each piece of blotter. He called himself Flicker, and that is all anybody really knew. He kept his real identity secret, except to his close friends. His publicly known trait was an abnormal habit of constantly flicking Bic lighters. He's able to light a separate lighter with each finger like Edward Scissorhands of disposable lighters. He was a genius who accelerated to graduate school at the tender age of 20. And because of these tricks, his childhood was filled with numerous television talk show appearances where he amazed audiences with his fantastic lighter tricks and unmatched Zippo stunts. So basically, we were never afraid to eat each other's drugs at incredible doses. And the fact that he was such a freak, that made us want to hang out and eat drugs with him. The guy was always telling us the most fucked up scientific bullshit, making us laugh hysterically while peeking. Afterward, getting stoned, we dropped the acid and walked through Monica's sliding glass door, shattering it into a trillion pieces. This brought us all to laughter as the acid worked its way into the central nervous system. Into the woods we went, leaving the view of the ocean behind, laughing as the tree's oscillation engulfed us. Thomas instantly had, hanging from his mouth, a humongous Bob Marley-style spleef burning. Soon we found ourselves in an open grassy meadow on the ridge above her house. Fools! We were laughing hysterically like hyenas as the horizon melted before us. Only now do I even slightly comprehend the vision I was about to see during this trip. If I had known it would have brought me to this point, I might have walked away, though I doubt it. We laughed and laughed, looking over the 360-degree view for what seemed to be the top of the world. We were peaking on acid, going ape. That's when it began, the midst of our hysterics. The first thing we saw, gripping our seats on the grassy knoll, was the gymnastic acrobatics of a group of crows, flipping and spinning. There were about 42 crows. They were flying in tight formation. They slowly swirled about like a tornado before climbing into the sky. Then a plane with no gas spiraled down on us out of the tornado. They circled and circled in front of us so fast that it appeared that a giant black circle. The circle continued to spin for what seemed forever until a cloud appeared in the middle of it. We were hypnotized. The cloud began to transform before us as we turned into some giant green praying mantis bug that looked like a fork. It kept changing. A stone face of a Mayan Indian, King Tut, Bob Marley, then a face which would become known to us as Don Juan. Puffy and fluffy, the face in the cloud was electric with brilliant colors shooting about in intricate patterns and lines. The effects were overwhelming. The clouds began to move in and out, breathing and puzzling into individual pieces. Even the rocks felt like they were gripping our feet, shaking us. Confusion was more than shaking us up, though. All of a sudden, the gravitational force came zooming down on us from the sky. It felt like a big hand trying to crush us. The black ring of birds was still spinning when the surrounding colors of the atmosphere began to change incredibly fast. Things began speeding up. The hallucination was at full strength. We were all focused on it because it was so stony. Again, the images in the ring were transforming and melting into unidentifiable spherical ball. It resembled planet Earth, but was charred and burned. It foreshadowed the dark mood of the future. All of the hallucination continued. The sounds got crazier and louder than ever. We could hear nothing but the booming coming from the sky and the ground. Things were going ballistic. Feedback buzzing started to sound off, getting progressively more piercing in the tone. We couldn't even lift our arms to cover our ears due to the intense gravity holding us down. The force was captivating, paralyzing us, as was the sound. The dark ball began to shake as the area around the ring began to glow with colors in a freak of all dimensions. Hallucination. The colors had an intense tie-dye look, like a rapidly spinning kaleidoscope. The frenzy suddenly exploded. A giant wooden sailing ship cut through the bird ring, rigged with huge masts and square sails. It all happened in a glimpse as a gigantic euphoric explosion showered the sky with rainbows and purple lights. It was total disillusionment. Red, green, and gold bolts shot across the sky like a jet airplane vapor trail. We'd never peaked so strong, so long, this good or crazy. The gravitational forces were lifted with the explosion, but it was some time before we could even move after the experience, laying in disbelief. At the moment, we knew this was more than just hallucinatory grandeur for acid heads to stare at. Rather, it was something mystical, a sign from God. There was a feeling of intangible voice of revelation, making things ultra fried out with enlightenment. Before we could put a thought in a straight line, the colors backed off and a giant wind came whipping up the canyon, cleansing the place of all evidence. We looked around for something as a chopper sound came up the canyon with the wind. A helicopter rose over the ridge, exploding with noise. It looked like a giant flying potato bug. Demanding to know what we were doing, the helicopter pilot stared down at us, peering through his reflecting helmet visor, seeing right through us like he knew we were guilty of something. As quickly as the helicopter appeared, it vanished in a poof of dust. I don't remember much after that. The next thing I knew, we found ourselves at our buddy Frack's. It was no surprise since it was the normal Thursday through Tuesday hangout. His house was privately located in the hills near Monica's. Nobody to bug anybody. It was a sanctuary for the stoned. We were all silent after the mind-altering wow encounter on the hill. Upon entering, we were greeted at the door, and the day was forgotten except for storytelling rights. Frack approached us with a video camera in one hand and a joint in the other, his normal custom. He was also wearing his customary attire straight from the Brady Bunch collection. The Brady Bunch was his fetish. He studied each episode like with a microscope. He even looked like Bobby Brady. The camera focused in on our haggard and bewildered faces, recording them forever. As if it were a ritual, we followed him to the basement without a word, just awkward post-acid glances. We all got comfortable as Frack turned and spoke, drunk off beer. You guys look like you need some help, pushing a bong at them. Flicker pulls out a clear glass, green-tinted steamroller pipe with a stinky kind bowl of pot loaded in it. Hey, look what the doctor ordered, handing it to Pinto. After inhaling, Pinto spoke, gagging with white smoke. This won't help. I need a Valium. Better than a Valium, Pinto. It's the Gonzo lab weed, returned Flicker, who was wondering how the trip was. Holy smoke, that's almost heroin, uttered Pinto, holding the last of his expanding hit. This is the Gonzo lab weed? Yummy, yummy, gargled Johnny as he lunged for the bowl in Pinto's slow hands. With a huge crystal-covered cola bud in his other hand, Johnny put the pipe to his mouth. Already? You harvested already? Wow, that's hot. Oh boy, how is it, Pinto? Smoke and see. Pinto now coughing profusely. Yeah, smoke that thing, Johnny. It's not a microphone, came a tired, shrill voice belonging to Monica. Mellow out. I need a lighter, Johnny said to Flicker, busy with the couple. Here. A lighter comes shooting across the room to Johnny, making him move quickly. The high-speed flick came from Flicker's pinky via an under-the-leg shot. Johnny smokes, producing a humongous cloud. Wow, this really is the Gonzo lab weed. The pipe passes to all, laughing and lounging about, talking as the party upstairs grows louder. As usual, the scene has reached its raging volume of hysteria. Frack is up, off to the stairs to play host again. I better go put those lemmings into a stupor. Leaving the room, the video camera rolling, mixing drinks, telling stories, and videotaping all at the same time was the portion of entertainment that Frack loved to share. How was that stuff tonight? You guys look bewildered, Flicker's comments to them in a shy manner, twitching with the lighters. The party roars as the door above swings open. A few drunken and drugged randoms stumble in and receive strange looks from the locals. After a quick stare, the conversation resumes and the randoms leave. Fucking loony, eh, Fingers? Came a roar directly at total silent Thomas, who had been sitting deep in the corner of the basis smoking a cigarette. Thomas's name was Fingers, and he had learned to accept it over time. He used to do a lot of coke, and you could surely spot it when he was wired because he would be forever chewing on his fingertips. He used to explain that it had been a nervous habit since he was a youth, but he gave up on changing the nickname after years of frustration. It really was, came Monica's stoned agreement. Johnny broke in with an excited tone. We saw some really wild shit. I mean, wild shit. I've never tripped like this. I don't know. It was that loony bird flying in circles, Bob Marley, and that really colorful kaleidoscope type color everywhere. He said it, man. That's the whole story, Pinto agreed firmly with Johnny about the trip on the hill. Flicker was lighting, twitching with a handful of lighters, rubbing his chin, mumbling to himself. Interesting, very interesting. Frack's brother, Frick, began interviewing. Fingers in the corner caught him in a talk freakishly to the red light in the video camera. Frick was the funkadubious guy that was always rapping about weed and sound systems with the occasional Cypress Hill lyric. He had a bushy black semi-fro that wasn't nearly as groomed as Frack's Greg Brady do, but he was always dressed in baggy pants and wearing his hats and shirts advertising marijuana, now rapping ridiculously to Frack as he followed with the mics for the video camera. Monica now laughing. Johnny, did you see the old guy and his shriveled up face? Imagine his penis. Yuck. She was laughing hysterically, spilling a Tanqueray martini prepared by Flicker from the basement bar. How about that ship, huh? How about that? Added Pinto in a suspicious, uneasy tone seldom used. He was thumbing through a National Geographic full of frolicking primates. I saw that ship. It was an old warship of some kind, came Thomas. Stone yelled from behind the video camera as Fetch makes a move to give him a soggy 20-inch pink tongue, wet dog lick. Fetch was a lunar dog, a ripping little pit bull, bit of a Doberman in him. Vicious if he wanted to be. He was usually just our stone bro dog. He loved to get high using one of Flicker's inventions, a dog muzzle that connected to a bong. He only liked to smoke once a day generally. It was crazy. It was like he used to get burned out or something. Sometimes the guys would try to get him really stoned by blowing hits in his ears and up his nose. But if you pushed him too far, he would growl and snap at you, or he would back into a corner and bark in defiance. Flicker was twitching lighters and rubbing. That's very interesting because I gave you a new super batch of acid with a few new ingredients. You experimented on us? What? That's not cool. Why I oughta beat you down, came a voice of disappointment from Pinto, now enraged, holding a magazine flaccid, knocking over a beer with it. I ate some of it in the lab first to mellow out, Pinto. Really, came Flicker's response, almost insulted by his, but truly unconcerned. I wouldn't fuck with you. If it's no big deal, why do we trip so hard then, asked Johnny. I really can't say now. I have to run some tests, but anyway, it sounds like you guys had a great trip, came Flicker's callous response, now flicking 5 or 6 lighters in both hands. Let's go party on that note. Besides, this bowl is Dusty Baker. It was unanimous, and they made their way into the chaotic party upstairs, which was in full regalia. Johnny and the others were in the post-acid stupor, confused and out of control, partying with gusto, proceeding to get extremely drunk. Frick and Thomas stayed below, talking about how Thomas had taken on the nickname Fingers. Not everybody knew the whole story, and it wasn't an easy topic to bring up with them. Later, as the party mellowed and calmed and all the ragers left, only the people who wanted to stay were there. The mood was quiet, the burst of laughter, random comments, music, and clinks of things being dropped or spilled. Everybody was in a little groups chatting about this or that, except Johnny, who was peering aimlessly into a tie-dye tapestry on the wall, silently milking a beer. Fetch is asleep with his hand in Johnny's lap, passed out drunk. As thoughts whirl in Johnny's head, Flicker comes bursting and babbling with an oversized drink in his hand and a burning joint in his lips, smoldering orange hot. Johnny, what's up, guy? Here, smoke this. I've got some coke. You want a bump? Oh, what? Gee, Flicker, thanks. As he slowly looks up, taking a full-size joint. How about that stuff, Johnny? Talking rapidly but quietly, chopping up a large chunk of cocaine on a CD jacket with a credit card. No thanks. This joint's fine. That acid you ate tonight. Hey, Johnny, snapping his fingers in Johnny's face, causing him to flinch, snorting a fat rail, sniffing, pounding his drink, pushing the pile toward Johnny. No thanks, man. Not tonight. Try Pinto or Fingers. I already gave those guys their rations. Besides, tell me about today. I want to see if anybody saw the same thing. It was the same, I assure you. We all saw the same thing. It was really weird. Hey, look, can we avoid this conversation until later? I really don't want to talk about it. I'm really burnt. Besides, I'm a little pissed at you, too. Taking another fat line and putting the rest away in the fold, looking at Johnny the whole time. Okay, I'll get back to you then. Besides, I think everybody needs a reboost. We'll talk later. Off into the cold, into the other room he goes, leaving Johnny to pass out stone cold tired. And we'll leave it right there for now. That's what we were up to in 1993 and 1994. just so you skeptics out there don't know, I've earned my right to talk smack about drugs and alcohol. I can't read anymore, man, and it makes me feel weird. It's like I can feel the coming on to like psychedelics. Like, it's enough. It's enough, dude. Catch up with the comments. I don't even know. I can't go back to the comments. That was a lot. I haven't really cracked that open and read that in 20 years. I mean, I've always had a copy, but I haven't actually like read it. Like, it's ridiculous. So epic. Gosh. I think that's all I got, dude. That's all I got. We're going to continue this. We'll read this. We're going to do this on the live feeds for a while. So we're only 18 pages into it, and this is 220-page novel. We got 204 pages left to read, man. 18 pages a night. It's like 14 sessions. What's your character? I can't. I don't know all of them. I'm the book. I have a trippy story about this book. I'll tell after we read it, for sure. Sometimes you just gotta shred the gnar, dude. Well, there you go. A little Saturday night entertainment. I'm sure will not be monetized. Might even cause it. I think that was worthy of a check mark from Susan Wojcicki. They might take back my thing. Can we have our play button back? Or can you buy the book? You gotta, I don't know. You gotta go look. It's like a scavenger hunt. It's so dumb. I got tales. I got tales from this era of my life. I really do. I've yet to truly open that can of worms, dude. The wow years. Oh boy. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at identifying people that I need to stay away from. That's for sure. Thanks, Annabelle. Carl. I can't divulge any trade secrets, Ben. I got to protect the innocent or the guilty, one or the other. That was like a literary high, dude. I felt it, man. I'm a little spun out, I have to admit. We'll do this. That was my Twitty's 1979. That sounds about right. We were into the 70s before the 70s were fashionable. You have to realize we wrote this book in 1993. 1993, that's what was going on. So all you young bucks out there think you're reinventing the wheel with your bong hits. We were just copying the generations before us, dude. So to be continued. Oh boy. Oh boy. That was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. I don't know what part I read where I just started like laughing at how stupid it was. So like, we went out of our way. Like, I don't think you could recreate this. You'd have to I was a chemistry major when I wrote that. I was studying chemistry. That's why I don't believe in college, dude. Like, I dropped out of college and learned more publishing this book than I did. That's just another story. I'll get into that. Anyway, but dude, I feel old already. I feel young, dude. How about that? I feel timeless right now. I feel good. I feel good, man. I don't feel old. That was a long time ago, 1994. Different time, man. I feel for all you young bucks, man. The 90s was like this there was this freedom in the early 90s that was pretty phenomenal. The 80s were over. The 90s were on fire, man. Gosh, the 90s, dude. We wrote this in Portland. That's when I moved up to Portland because the Burnside was getting built. Like there was like the skaters out there will just never know. Like the young skaters now will just never know what it was. The 90s. The 90s were just like the ultimate like skate world, dude. Nobody would hassle you. You could skate anywhere, dude. Anywhere, man. There was none of this getting kicked out of spots. The 90s were rad, man. Because it wasn't all like, it's not all nostalgiaed out like the 60s and all that nonsense, man. The 90s are forgotten. The 90s were forgotten, man. God, I was a young buck, man. I was like 23 when I did this. My buddy. We had a full entourage, dude. We're going around to the Grateful Dead. Fish was just coming online. That was back when Fish was big on the East Coast and nobody knew who they were on the West Coast. You could go see a Fish show with like 500 people. I think my first Fish show was in 1994, maybe 93 at the Eugene Civic Center in Eugene, Oregon. I don't even think it sold out. Man, those are good times back then. The Dead was still playing. You could see there was all sorts of cool music going on in the 90s, man. The 90s was a good time for music. Kurt Cobain had just gotten killed, dude. I remember we went and bought, when Kurt Cobain got killed, we deliberately took a bus down from Portland down to Eugene just to buy an ounce of weed in his honor. Like that's what we're like, I remember like Kurt Cobain got killed and we're like, what do we do? And we're like, let's just go to Eugene and buy an ounce of weed in his honor, man. So we took the Greyhound down to Eugene. We saw the craziest fight in the Greyhound station of Portland. Went, picked up an ounce of weed, got back on the bus, back up to Portland, saw another fight at the Greyhound station. Great. If you want to see good fights, go to a Greyhound station, dude. Get on a bus. If you haven't ridden the Greyhound, you're missing America at its best. Oh. Dude, the summer of 1993, dude, that was the summer I ran into Dokken and the Greyhound station in Chicago. And Dokken was heading out to Portland, dude. And I had just come from the Burnside and he was heading out to Portland. And he was like, dude, I'm heading to the Burnside, dude. And if you don't know, Eric Dokken was the dude who went to the Burnside, then headed to Southern Oregon and built all the Southern Oregon skate parks, dude. It was a rad time. Skaters were like this weird group of that was the thing. Like I was at the bus station in Chicago with my skateboard and Dokken was like, dude, where are you coming from, man? I would go Portland. He's like, the Burnside? I go, yeah. He's like, I'm heading there myself, dude. Like people will never understand in 1993, 94, if you had a skateboard, you were trying to get to Portland, Oregon to go see what was going on the Burnside. There was no like internet back then, dude. It was rad. There was just like rumors. You heard rumors of stuff. I remember seeing a picture, a sequence in Thrasher of Red doing the air out of the first bowl and being like, what's going on under the bridge in Portland, dude? And being like, I got to get to Portland. There was nothing to skate. Like like when the rumors of the Burnside started circulating around, there was no skate parks anywhere, dude. We were just in that lame baggy pants World Industries era. There was like the real hardcore kind of like skaters. And like, I just remember everybody was like that was the thing. It was like Portland skateboarding in the early 90s was like, what, Valhalla, Mecca? I don't know. Like, that was just the raddest, man. People were coming from all over the world to see what was going on under the bridge, man. And they all left, and that's why there's skate parks everywhere. It's all because of Mark Scott and Monk and Sage and all those dudes, dude. Josh Folk, all those guys under the bridge in the 90s, man. If you got a skate park in your town that's rad, those dudes under the bridge in Portland in the early 90s are why, dude. I have mad respect for those guys. Those dudes changed my life, man. Those dudes changed my life more than any other human being on this planet except my spiritual advisor, Joe. Man. What an awesome time, dude. What an awesome time, dude. I hope young people get to experience something like that. It's funny because you only know that it was radical in retrospect. I didn't know how radical the early 90s were with the skateboarding scene and the Burnside and all that stuff till 15 years later. 15 years later, I began to look back and be like, whoa, something radical had happened under the bridge, man. Like, that's why, I get bummed to see what's going on up in Portland right now. Like, I love Portland, man. Portland was the most creative place I've ever been. Man, to be in Portland in the 90s, people don't understand, Portland in the 90s, everybody was coming from all over the country. Young Portland in the 90s was a city of young people. Everybody was in their 20s, dude. Everybody was from somewhere else, and they all came to drink microbrews, listen to music, and enjoy the outdoors. This new group of people that have taken over Portland, dude, they're the antithesis of who we were. And we were all activists. We were all, I would say, true liberals, libertarian liberals, man. We were all politically motivated, but we would never condone what was going on. I mean, what is going on up there now is anti-freedom, man. I get bummed, man. I gotta admit, I see what's going on up in Portland, and it does bring a tear to my eye. I get really sad about it because I hold Portland, Oregon as this special place in my life, man. When I lived in Portland in the 90s, when I wrote this book and we were building skate parks and saving old growth forests, and I don't know how it went. It's so funny because Portland back then was definitely the beginning of the revival. If you don't know, Portland, when I moved there in 1993, was still kind of dingy, and the new redevelopment the gentrification was just occurring. The east side was still a wasteland. The northwest was pretty much a wasteland except for Trendy Third. Trendy Third was booming, and that was it. Below the freeway there, that part of the Northwest was all industrial wasteland, dude. So it trips me out that Portland's become this beautiful, redeveloped city, and it's just got all these assholes up there, man. It bums me out, dude. I'm ashamed that what Portland's done with itself, because they've taken the true idea of freedom and integration and turned it into a backwater, dude. It's disgraceful what those Antifa people have done to Portland, Oregon. They're embarrassing, truly embarrassing, because we were totally integrated, man. I don't think anybody thought twice about who you were with. We were all there to create art and positivity and music and microbrews and skate parks. There was no that's why I don't get what became this hate culture up there. And it's so bizarre, man. It's a really bizarre circumstance to watch what's going on up in Portland. At least the Burnside's still there, man. Gotta love the Burnside. It's trippy, right? When you think about these things. I think that sometimes like people like the young people don't respect the old people enough. Like if you're like, as I'm getting older, you really begin to see how much the world changes, man. And we think those crazy, like the crazy old people, man, like don't know what they're talking about, but they've watched the change occur. Like I've seen exponential population growth in my lifetime. Like I can see it. I know what the world looked like less crowded once upon a time. When I first started driving, I was thinking about it driving the other day. When I first started driving, there wasn't like traffic like there is now everywhere. You could zip around, man. You can get places, dude, no problem. You could jam down Interstate 5 between and not really worry about it. So like I get why these old timers are a little like horrified at the direction things are going because you can see how these snowballs get rolling over time, and if you get the snowball rolling the wrong direction, man, it just leads to bad things. Like it saddens me to see our culture spinning into this racial divide nonsense, dude. I don't know that world. I don't know it. I hear a bunch of like white people in rich enclaves talking about it. But when you go into the rest of the world, it's not the case, dude. I don't know. When I lived in North Carolina in the early like 2002. I think 2002. I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was totally integrated where I was working. We were all just trying to get through our 8-hour day, dude. It didn't matter that the person next to you was black or Asian or whatever, dude, or woman or trans or gay or any of that stuff. See, I don't know. Like, that's for me. That's why I get so troubled about this time. Like, we did all that stuff. That's what I mean. Like, I lived in a world where no one cared. When I was in Portland in the 90s, no one cared if you were gay or you were trans. It wasn't an issue. You just were doing your thing, man. So I don't understand how it's gone this weird thing where like it's fake, but people believe it. Like I was looking at the comments on that AOC video. That was so me just having a fun moment. People were like pissed. I'm like, what? Like, I'm just having fun with it. You can't have no humor anymore. What is going on? What is going on here, man? I read this and I'm like, what are these young people doing? I mean, I don't know. Maybe our time in the 90s caused this. I don't know. I look back. I don't get what's going on, man. I see it, though. I see this new anger everywhere. It trips me out. I'm like, what? Like, life's hard enough, man. Life's hard enough as it is, and everything's going your way. You guys are just going to make up some problems? You're just going to make some new problems that aren't here? What? It trips me out, man. And it trips me out because we're missing the real issues. Like, you're talking to a dude who used to lock himself to trees and stuff, man. What? And people are like, I saw some dude bitching about plastic on the thing one morning. It got me so mad because I'm like, dude, you don't know anything about what you're talking about. That's a side issue. What does it matter if we're just destroying everything with our not paying attention to the world we're living in? I get so bummed about it on like a level, But that's where I've had to switch my whole perspective over of like, I can't go there anymore. I can't, I take care of my own trash. I try to limit my footprint. I don't buy into their global warming doomsday scenario nonsense, because if you're I made a whole video about it today, actually. I'll post it in a little while. I know what it was, dude. I was there, man. I was there when we were truly fighting to save the environment, dude. I remember being with so many young people and old people and normal people and families and stuff, standing in front of logging trucks, trying to save watersheds so we could drink clean drinking water. You talk to me about Horsefires Creek up outside of Salem, dude, up in the Santiam watershed. You want to get to me about plastics and stuff, dude? I was up there locked to a car trying to get them to stop cutting down a forest in a municipal drinking watershed. And you know what? They did cut down that forest. And you know what did happen the next winter? There was that whole timber cut they cut down slid into the creek and like filled the watershed full of mud. And so I get so incensed with this new fake eco bullshit, man. Because it's you guys don't know what you're talking about. You don't know, because you know what? Because it's easy to sit and buy into your little this thing like as your conduit. No. Go get into the field. Go get into the field and see what's really going on, and realize that the nature of the complexity of these issues is so much bigger than some meme or catchphrase or global warming or whatever it is. Get down and dirty in some small town, in some weird town in Portland, Oregon, outside of Oregon somewhere, where there's a group of people that are dependent upon harvesting wood to feed their children. And at the same time, down the stream, there's another group of people that are dependent upon the water flowing to catch salmon to feed their children. And see that all these people are getting screwed by Weyerhaeuser Corporation, taking advantage of the federal government because nobody's watching, because we are the people. That federal forest is ours to steward, but we've turned it over to the dudes. And if you talk to the people who work at the United States Forest Service, because there's a lot of good people that work in the United States Forest Service, they would tell you they're waiting for a citizen to request the right paperwork to stop these timber cuts. Man, you get like, I trip that everybody's abdicated their authority, man. It bums me out. So you want, like, someone asked me about teaching my son about like recycling plastic. You know what? I'm going to teach my son how to interface with the federal government that he runs. You want to do something? Go get to your local BLM office or Forest Service office and go talk to the cool ass secretary back there and start asking for the paperwork that give you the rights to change something. I like, don't give your money to some environmental group. You become the environmental group. You become the steward and interface with the system. We live in that's why these people are trying to destroy the system. We live in the freest system on the planet. Nowhere on the planet do you as an individual have the power you have to change stuff. Yeah, it's a slow, arduous process. It's a pain in the ass to figure out what's going on with the timber cut in the Santiam forest. Let's just take the Santiam forest, for example. Just pick your local national forest if you have one, and go in there and get on the computer. And we were doing all of this without computers in the 90s. We didn't have computer databases in the 90s. We had to go and request stuff be sent to us. We had to get on telephones and talk to people and be like, hey man, can you send me the thing for the posted timber cut up at section number whatever? And then you had to drive out there, because there was no Google Earth satellite. You had to take a map. You had to drive out to some timber cut somewhere, and you had to get your compass out and you had to go survey the timber cut. And you know what you could do? is you could go survey the timber cut and find things like scavenger hunts and go, oh, there's some sort of unmarked water seep up here. And due to the blah, 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 we can save this chunk of old growth forest. Oh, you used to go look for like marbled murrelet nests in the redwood forest and be like, oh, we found some marbled murrelet nests, dude, which means you can't cut down this forest, at least in the nesting season, right? So if you could hold up the timber cut through a season, these timber cuts have time limits on them. So you could get in there and you could file paperwork and you could ball it all up, because you as a citizen, it's your forest. It's your forest. It's your public lands. These people want to take this from you. These socialist people want to take your public lands back. Like, don't people get that we already own it all? We own the government, we own the land, and yet people are abdicating their authority and going, I can't do anything about it, man. I'm not out of the fight, man. I will not bow. Anyway, it's a little truth from my heart, man, right there. I think I gave all I got tonight, man. It's not out of your hands, Twitty. That's where you're wrong. It's not. That's the one thing it's not out of our hands. That's the one thing they're trying to convince everybody. It's totally in our hands. It is totally in our hands. It is totally in our hands. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. That's truth. But I'll tell you, I'll just get to one final note with these people. So when I was doing the forest hugging thing, within most of these federal organizations, there are people that are sympathetic to the cause of preserving the land. But they need to be asked the right questions. You see, like the way a bureaucracy works is a bureaucracy is a paper generating reality. He who controls the paper and knows what's written on the paper has the ability to affect the next batch of paper coming down the line, right? So you would do your thing where you would get the piece of paper that said what it needed to say, and you would read the piece of paper, and you could get on the phone and ask the person questions. And when you ask the right questions, they are more than willing to give you the next piece of paper that gives you the power to generate the next piece of paper, which can generate a piece of paper which can stop a timber cut, for example. That's what I know about is the forestry stuff. I don't know about ocean stuff or this or that. I know about forestry stuff. And I know that when you interface with the United States Forest Service, you have people that are pro-timber and you have people that are pro-preservation who are there waiting for citizens to show up and do what they want. And what we're up against is, everybody's abdicated their authority and given the power to the corporations. And I've watched little old ladies take on Weyerhaeuser Corporation or Macmillan Bodell up in Canada and shut them down by themselves because they just filed the right paperwork. So when I hear this thing that we can't do anything and we're powerless and it's already written in the stone, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe, I believe the Bible, but I also believe that part of our job as stewards and Christians is to interface with the system and use our God-given authority to interface in a peaceful, nonviolent method. And I don't speak as a pacifist either, but I'll tell you is the difference to how I got stuff done when I was up doing all this stuff in Oregon was I was one of the few people that wasn't combative with the United States Forest Service. I would call these secretaries and these people and I would talk to them just as I would want to talk to someone I respected, and I would develop relationships and things would happen, man. Anyway, it ain't over till it's over, man. I don't know. That was a good good stream for me personally. I liked it. Think I'm good there, everybody. And yeah. No, I didn't. I know what you're saying, Twitty. I do know what you're saying in like the big picture of prophecy and all that. I understand. But I always just I have to always flare on the I just I always we have so much power in our powerlessness. That's that's why you can't get bummed. I guess what I'm saying is part of the reason you can't get bummed is because it's already been foretold, and that is the beautiful thing. And once you know that it's already been foretold, you can go into action with a boldness and a kindness. You don't need to go in with a anger. I think I see a lot of anger nowadays, and it startles me because those are the people that need to be the kindest, actually. Like these people that want to change the system. I don't think that our system's like flowing in the right direction, but I don't see how they're going to change anything with this anger. Like that presidential debate the other night was disgraceful. That was disgraceful. That's the worst showing of America I've ever seen on a public stage. Those 10 people on that stage ought to be ashamed of themselves. And where was Tulsi, by the way? Like all you out there, like I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on, where is Tulsi? The one person who's talking against war. Well, what happened to that? What happened to that whole mentality of our nation that like our number one thing was not to go to war? Sure, we'll go blow your country up if you mess with us and you got some oil we want. But generally speaking, like there used to be one party that was anti-war. What happened to the people who aren't for war? Like, I don't understand that. That troubles me. That's one of these troubling things. Like, where is somebody who's against war? Why is that not a relevant position? How can we live in a society that's concerned about global warming yet isn't trying to stop war? I don't get how you fix the environment without stopping war. I don't understand that. I don't get it. Seems to be the first thing we need to do if we're going to save this planet or humanity or whatever they're promoting as the doomsday. The first thing we need to do is stop blowing each other up in the name of petroleum products. I don't get why would you have a climate summit and not be like Princess Diana and stop landmines? Oh, well, we know what happened to her, don't we? They didn't kill Martin Luther King until he started speaking out against the Vietnam War. They didn't kill Malcolm X till he started speaking out against the Vietnam War. They didn't kill John Kennedy till he started speaking out against the Vietnam War. Again, that's what saddens me with all these young people. Like, why aren't they speaking out against war? Why are they advocating war amongst your fellow citizens? Like, that's what's so disgraceful about those people up in Portland in their black masks is why aren't they trying to stop war? Why are they encouraging violence? Like take that Antifa stuff to the Pentagon. You know what I mean? Like if those Antifa people were taking their action to the Pentagon, I would be right there with them. I'd have my own black mask on. But they're not. They're taking their action against fellow citizens. They're not doing anything that I respect. You want to go like do something and put your black mask on, go at the Pentagon. Try to levitate the Pentagon like they did in the 60s. I'm convinced they did. I'm convinced they did levitate the Pentagon, man. Like you can say what you want about the 60s or whatever. Like they actually held hands around the Pentagon in an attempt to levitate it. Like that's what kind of power we need to begin to like express as human beings is the ability to come together on common goals. And yeah, maybe they did levitate the Pentagon. I think they did. But that's what I mean. Like this, we need to come together to divide thing. Like what? No, we need to come together and levitate the Pentagon. Let's do that. Let's flip the Pentagon over. So yeah, people want to get mad at me about like AOC. Like you don't even believe what you're mad about. Come down on me, man. I've been battling against this war hatred thing my entire life, man. I've been trying to save drinking water my entire life, man. Well, my adult life. So yeah, I think it's ironic that people come in and like try to tell me what time it is. I know what time it is in my world. There's never been a time to hate. But clean the beach is stop dirtying the beach. You don't need to find a cure for breast cancer. You need to stop causing breast cancer. You don't need to clean the beach. You got to stop just dirtying the beach. Like the whole mentality they've given our society is the post after the fact mentality, dude. No, we need to stop doing stupid things to ourselves. Like, yeah, I get it, man. You only get to get sober after you destroyed your life with alcohol and drugs, man. Clean your neighborhood. But what's the point of cleaning your neighborhood if your own internal life's a mess? That's what I'll say on the fun, kind of thing here is I could go talk all day long about trying to save trees and do this and that. But I couldn't do anything until I like cleaned up my own heart, man. Till I cleaned up who I was as a human being inside. And I'll tell you, that's still a daily exercise, It's still a daily struggle to truly clean out the filth that I contain as a human being, man. Because like, what's the point of like judging my fellow man if I'm not going to judge myself by an equal measure, Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Trevor. So, that's where I get is like, that's where I talk about like, yeah, we can talk all day long about like rafts of garbage in the ocean and the sun zooming in and meltdowns expected, right? We can quote The Clash. The Clash put all those lyrics out there in London Calling once upon a time, right? Like the lyrics have been in all the songs for a long time, dude. The end thing is a constant trope. It's just now we have a new end. But that's to get and all these things are to get us to distract ourselves from cleaning up ourselves, cleaning up our heart, cleaning up how we interact with our wife, with our children, with our surroundings. Like that's why I can't even get mad at any of these people anymore. These lunatics with their weird black masks and pink mohawks and doing their thing. Like I got to clean up myself first, man. I don't have the authority anymore to go tell someone else they're wrong. It disappoints me. I'm bummed about it. But that's their own internal struggle. They need to go be vicious to learn the truth, man. I think that's maybe what's going on here is you have all these people that have somehow used the good cause to justify violence and negativity. I don't understand that, man. Like it's so anti. When I lived in Portland, man, I used to roll with my friend Hamed Guar, man. Hamed Guar was an Afghan Mujahideen rebel, full Muslim devotee. We worked together, and he would go to mosque certain days, and he would take me to my protests certain days. We would exchange. Sometimes he would go to the mosque, and I would sit in the delivery truck while he went and prayed. And other times he would take me down to the protest where he would sit in the truck while I went and prayed prayed to save the trees, you know? And it's this thing of like, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who these people are in these black masks. Cause I remember sitting in a delivery truck with the Muslim Mujahideen rebel who supported my American freedom enough to take me down to my protests. And I supported his immigrant freedom, new American status enough to go to the mosque with him and let him do his thing. Hamed, he used to talk to me about the Quran all the time, dude. Hamed was a rad dude, man. So that's why I don't get onto this whole like weird thing. You can get on your weird thing about the Muslims and the whole thing and all that. I don't, man. I had a truly beautiful human being who I used to work with 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week plus overtime, who would talk to me. I could ask him any question. And I'm a question asker kind of guy. Thinking about Hamed brings a tear to my eye. I love that dude, man. I remember as kids, he used to bring this halal food his wife would make. He would bring these lunches of halal food. They were so good, man. Interesting times we live in, man. It's not done, dude. See, that's just so funny. Like how, like I don't get like you're on the stream, we're listening, and someone's just like, "Oh, it's done, dude. Freedom." No, it's not. It's like you're not even like tuning into what we're trying to broadcast out. If you think that freedom's done, you need to not be here. I guess. Like, well, why are we here? Freedom's alive and well. That's like the thing I'm trying to tell you, dude. Freedom's in the center of your soul, man. If freedom's done, that's freedom for you, not freedom for us, man. You know? There's no they. The only person you need to worry about is yourself. They, moose, you're so off the target, dude. You're in control. Control yourself. Stop focusing on they, dude. Yeah, Trevor, right? It's trippy, huh? I'm a little surprised. It's interesting, man. People will get all like celebrate you when you're ranting and like being all like crazy, and then when you truly have like when you truly like let it go and be like all like then they're all like, oh. It's just trippy, right, Corey? Don't let they control you, dude. Can't win for losing. I can't win for losing. Anyway, man, I'm gonna cut this off. We're at midnight, you guys. So thanks everyone for being here, sharing this hour and a half of my life with me, and I'm super stoked everyone showed up. Even the ones you don't think were free, you're still free with me, baby. All right, keep it up, dude. We got this, man. Have a good night. You too, Corey. Beloved and Dr. Nickel. Good night. Free. We're free, dude. Rewind, be loving. All right, everybody. Hey, have a beautiful night, man. Thanks for being here. No, this was a good one. It was very cathartic, man. I really am optimistic about the future, man. You gotta be optimistic. Freedom's not done. That's right, Moose. Freedom ain't over. That's the spirit. All right, everybody. Good night, man. See you at the next one.